Hey, what up, guys? So I'm coming to you this morning. I'm going to do the what's next on Sergey Kovalev, the now former three-time light heavyweight world champion. That's 175 pounds. Well, Kovalev fought in the main event of a DAZN card on Saturday, November 2nd. He lost his WBO light heavyweight title to Canelo Alvarez. This was a huge super fight between two big names. So usually during a super fight, I do the what's next on the loser of that fight as well. Especially, Kovalev, he got TKO'd. He got hit with a big shot, in the 11th round. But he fought his ass off in that fight, He did the best that he could do. Considering he was coming off 10 weeks rest after his 11th round TKO over Anthony Yard back in August, I thought he did well. Canelo just filled the weight out well, broke him down, and, a good, clean combination put him away for good in the 11th round. So, you got to hand it to Canelo. But Kovalev fought hard. He was in the fight. He wasn't getting blown out. It was an actually decent fight, decent action. He just lost his title. But Kovalev is 36 years old. So, what's next for former light heavyweight champion Sergey Kovalev? Well, haven't heard anything. Kovalev said he still wants to fight, And knowing Kovalev, I think Kovalev I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. I think Kovalev at full strength, plenty of rest. If he's going to continue his career, he needs to continue. Maybe not trying to fight every 3-4 months like he used to, because he's older now, unless he blows a guy out in just a couple rounds or something like that. But I haven't heard anything concrete or anybody interested. So let's run through the top 10. Kovalev dropped to third now for me in my top 10. So let's look at the top 10 and see what options are there. We start with Canelo Alvarez, who's number one now, the WBO champion. A rematch. Rematch is not on the table. Canelo wouldn't give him that. Canelo already gave him the fight. Canelo won convincingly. He wouldn't give him a crack again, especially a fully rested Kovalev. I don't think Canelo would do that. He already won the fight and won it convincingly. Okay, number two, Arthur Beterbiev, the unified light heavyweight champion. Well, I don't think this fight would be next for Kovalev, but I don't think it would be next. Beterbiev's going to come back against Meng Falong, his mandatory in January. And Kovalev, I think, is going to take some time off. He could fight Beterbiev next year if Beterbiev doesn't get another big fight, maybe unifying belt. So it could be an option, but I don't think this is a comeback fight for Kovalev after the loss. Okay, next is number 4, Eleider Alvarez, former champion. This would be a rubber match between Kovalev and him. I don't see Kovalev coming back for a rubber match. He already got knocked out the first time against Alvarez. He got caught cold. He beat him convincingly by a unanimous decision earlier this year in a rematch. I don't think a third fight is on the table, at least not next for Kovalev. It's not an option he would take. Next up is number 5, undefeated Dimitri Bivol versus Kovalev. Another one, Bivol probably going to get an optional defense in his next one, and then probably there's a good chance he tries to unify against Arthur Beterbiev after that. So I really don't think this is an option right here for Kovalev next. It's not a one he would take anyways. Even though Bivol's got a world title, I think Kovalev stays away from this fight just because Bivol's a real deal. He's a good ass fighter, and I don't think Kovalev would want to take a risk against a guy like him next. Okay, next up is number 6, former world champion and current interim champion Jean Pascal. This would actually be a third fight. Kovalev's already TKO'd Pascal twice. First time was a little questionable, but Kovalev it was a convincing win. Second time he left no doubt. He put the fight away. I don't think this fight's on the table, even though Pascal's kind of had been good his last fight. He looked good, but Pascal's fighting Badu Jack next anyways, so I don't see it. Number 7, Marcus Brown. Wouldn't completely rule it out, but Brown's such a technical boxer. Even though he lost his last fight against Pascal, I think Brown wants the winner of Pascal and Badu Jack, and I don't think Kovalev would face a guy like Brown next. Just too talented. then against Badu Jack. Now, Badu Jack's coming back in his next fight and taking on Jean Pascal. If he were to win that fight, I wouldn't completely rule it out, but I think Jack doesn't fight that frequently, and I think he'd probably want to go after a world title next. But Kovalev still has a huge name, so I wouldn't completely rule it out either. Then, let me see, the last couple guys on the top 10, you got Gilberto Ramirez. Wouldn't completely rule it out, but Ramirez is on the rise. He's undefeated. Not sure Kovalev wants to take a risk against a guy like Ramirez, but I wouldn't completely rule it out because it's an easy fight to make for top rank. But I think Ramirez is going to get his next fight in before Kovalev even thinks about coming back, because he's been out of the ring for a while now. And then finally, rounding out the top 10 is Jesse Hart, former world title challenger. You know, I just don't see it. I know Hart's coming back in January. You know, I could see Kovalev possibly taking a chance against him, but you know, honestly, I just don't see it right now. And that's it for the top 10 in terms of who Kovalev could face in the top 10. To be honest, I think Kovalev, when he comes back, I think he's going to take a long layoff, long for him, and we're probably not going to see him back till like May or June. I think Kovalev's going to take a good break. He fought 3 times this year, 3 tough fights. He fought, I think, a total of 35 rounds in 2019. That's a lot of rounds right there, you know. So I think he takes a good amount of time off. I think he comes back probably the summer next year. I'd say like June area, and he probably takes on kind of a so-so opponent out of the top 10 to load up for a possible top 10 fighter or a title fight in the second half of next year. That's what I think he's going to do. That's the What's Next on former 3-time light heavyweight champion Sergey Kovalev. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. True Boxing. Been here with the truth.